Now we're back at what, AALL?
American Association of Law Libraries.
So I won't call it AALL anymore.
I don't think anybody calls it that. No.
Well, somebody did for Saturday, part of Sunday. This is Bob Ambrogi that I'm sitting with. People know Bob probably more than they know me anyway. So I just wanted to sit down with you, and we were talking about our observations from the show. I'm here because you urged me to come, and Ed Walters did, saying, hey, this would be a good place to come. It took me only 3 or 4 years to follow your advice. How long have you been coming to this conference?
I don't come to all of it. I've been coming on and off for 20 years. No, is that right? 90. Yeah.
You're aging yourself.
Well, you know what? Years ago, I debuted what was then the first ever publication for lawyers about the internet. It was a little newsletter about how lawyers could use the internet. And it was a print publication because no lawyers were on the internet in those days. And we debuted it at the AALL conference in Philadelphia that year. I think it was 1994. So yeah, I've been coming a while. Yeah. I don't come to all of them though.
What made you first come? I mean, like back
well, actually,
obviously at the newsletter.
That's what made me first come that year, was that the newsletter was targeted in part at an audience of law libraries. It was going to be written about information resources on the internet, and that's what law librarians and knowledge professionals care about. So
yeah, I mean, I was curious as you told me to come. I really didn't know what to expect, so I started following people that were going to be speaking on Twitter last week to kind of get a feel. But I started to pick up was the passion, and then Gene O'Grady, invited me to the private law summit, which was the law firms.
Yeah.
And what was interesting was there was incredible passion among the audience as to the law. I mean, it's obvious; it should make sense.
Right.
Where I might be at a technology conference or a legal marketing conference, and there it was, well, we're going to use law content, but maybe for some other purpose, to maybe attract an audience or whatnot. These people are very, very passionate about the underlying law and delivering it through research.
That's true. And the other interesting thing about this conference, for me, since my writing, my blog primarily bridges information and technology. I write a lot about resources and research resources, but also writing about technology. And this conference, in some ways, more than any other conference, really, more than a lot of the legal tech conferences, is exactly that bridge. It's become much more of a technology conference in a lot of ways. I mean, you walk around. We're in the exhibit hall here, and you walk around this exhibit hall, and you're seeing artificial intelligence and machine learning and analytics and all the buzzwords all over the place here, right?
Is there, because somebody mentioned that yesterday, they go, someday this will all just be legal technology, and I said, well, can you go to any one of these booths that isn't already about legal technology? Go find me one.
Right, that's a good point. I don't think you can.
And he was serious. He goes, well, someday this is all going to be replaced by legal technology, and I'm thinking, well, you got Case Text over there that's got Caro, which is trying to use some form of artificial intelligence so that you can brief better. And you can look at all these different things, social media information, Callie that's using technology. Everybody is.
Absolutely.
What have you found that's been interesting? I mean, I don't want to be contrite about what we're sitting here talking about, but I'm just curious.
So far, what's been most interesting for me so far has been this program I went to yesterday. I've actually only been to one program so far since I've been here, but
that's because you walk around a place, everybody's grabbing your arm and I want to talk to you.
Yeah, and I have seen a lot of product demos, and I've seen some interesting stuff there. But a woman named Susan Neville-Mart, who is a professor at the University of Colorado Law School, has done a lot of research comparing the results of legal research queries on different platforms: Westlaw versus Lexis Advance versus Fastcase versus Case Text. Forget which other. Google Scholar is the other one. And her study has found that the platform you use for your legal research is going to produce dramatically different results. We all kind of think that the relevant cases are the relevant cases, but in fact, if you do the same search on West versus Lexis versus Google Scholar, the top 10 cases that show up as the most relevant are going to be dramatically different, in some cases completely different. And she's actually written a study that you can get on SSRN that goes into great detail about the biases that are inherent in these search algorithms that underlie these platforms. And it's something that I think a lot of lawyers, certainly, who are performing legal research, probably are not aware of. Law librarians here, knowledge professionals are aware of this probably, but a lot of lawyers aren't. And it goes to our broader use of search overall. I mean, the same thing is true on Google. I mean, you kind of think Google's giving you the answers, but if you actually compare what you get on Google versus Bing or something else, you find
or even
very different
when
results.
we were out to eat dinner with Jeff from Thomson Reuters, and he used the Google analogy that he goes, I might do a search on Google and get different results than Kevin would be. And then he talked about the keyword system or the keynotes. Boy, it's been 20 years. The key number system. It's been 20 years since I practiced. What was his quick take on that? As far as do you remember what he was talking about? Even though it was established older, it still was relevant.
Bob,
See, everybody comes up to Bob
here. So how are you? Stay out for a minute.
Okay. A perfect example.
Did we just lose something?
No. Well, no.
Right.
We still got 20%. We still got 20% power.
Good. Okay. Oh, your battery's about to die. Sorry for that interruption.
But do you remember what he was saying about the key number system? About how the relevance of it?
Well, what he was actually responding, I think, to something I said, which is I had said that one of the points that Susan made is that the key, a lot of the Thomson Reuters search algorithm, the West search algorithm, is based in part on their key number system. And Susan kind of made the point that the Westlaw therefore has a kind of a 19th century bias in the sense that system was developed in the 19th century and it sort of has a yesterday's version of law. Not that in a lot of ways law hasn't changed, but so what Jeff was saying is that in fact that key number system is constantly being updated and expanded and developed, and that may not be an accurate portrayal of the system or of the underlying search algorithm.
Right. What I've been drawn, I understand there's 4,200 members of AALL. 1/3 are law firms. And then you break it down and you get a big slice is law schools. So I've been probably drawn more to the law schools only because I'm trying to give our stuff away to law schools. I mean, it's kind of weird. Business development is really easy when you sell it for free. And so I was able to sit in one session where OU was showing off what they had done. Oklahoma, the dean had mandated that they could allocate a portion of their budget towards technology and innovation. And then their director of law library showed that off. I thought it was pretty incredible. And then this morning, sitting in a session where they got into open access, and the law professors have their scholarship. And they, because of the work they put in their scholarship, somehow don't necessarily want it to be on the internet. Which is it's kind of an ass backwards way of looking at it. But I want it to be in this proprietary thing or this special place. And then even got into the discussion of SSRN and whether that might remain open and free forever, and whether they should have their repositories built in other ways. It's pretty fascinating to see this.
Two major views among legal academics, I would think, on that, because certainly a lot of law professors are blogging in a scholarly way. They're not just writing about what they had for dinner or something.
It's not everybody that has karaoke with Ken going on 20 years here at this event. He has a blog on that.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Well, you can look at this. There is the Law Professors Network still, which is an extensive network. Which is huge. And beyond that, there are any number of law professors who are writing. What I find these days is often when I'm trying to find scholarly type material, that's the most accessible. The stuff that's on the blogs is what's the most accessible, the most timely, and I won't say the most thoughtful, but it's just the most accessible and most timely. And to start, who reads law reviews anymore? I don't know. Somebody must.
No, but it's interesting because the law professors are saying, well, I'm putting all this time into it and putting this scholarly work out, and the panel was making the point that the traffic is coming to their information, these repositories, when they can get it from Google and social shares. So it's coming in the way that you're just describing it. So it's been a lot of fun. And then with Gene O'Grady, all I got to do is ask Gene, are there any law librarians that would be interested in blogging? It took Gene about 2 minutes. It was almost like she delivered them to me, and then today she brings me another person, and here's their cell phone, you need to text them, and then here's a list, sitting with Ken Hirsch, here's a list of all the other people that you should be out with. So this is great. It's a great show for me.
Well, she's on your platform now.
She just switched because she had problems with Blogger.
She was still on Blogger.
And
she was like the last person in the world.
And it sounds nuts, but what we decided to do, my COO, Gary Vandervoort, and I, was just recent this last week, he realized we need to reward the good bloggers out there. Now, Gene's a good blogger. And we should be offering those good bloggers to come on the LexBlog platform, WordPress managed platform, for free. And then I think we'll probably end up doing the same thing with law librarians, whether they're in firms or law schools or the other public law libraries. So hopefully we can get more and then get them to dialogue among themselves, because they share a lot of information similar to you, because Grady's reviewing products almost similar to you.
Gene and I compete. I'm breaking stories.
Anything else you wanted to chat about now that we're just sitting here probably boring people?
I don't think so. I mean, some interesting products here.
I meant to ask you about that. What products that you saw that were interesting?
I'm trying to think of what I've seen that's been really interesting. I mean, the irony, one of the things I've seen here, which they're not exhibiting here, they're actually just here attending, are the legal research platform Judicata, which I'd written about recently on my blog. A company that's been developing what they say is going to be a better than anybody else legal research platform in kind of a stealth mode for 5 years developing this platform. They've sort of come out of stealth recently. I have a long review at lawsitesblog.com of their research platform. It's still in a pretty early stage, still kind of rudimentary, but they're showing me here a bunch of things that they're like the next level of what they're working on. It's really interesting.
Because I asked somebody last night, and it's I wouldn't call it as many people offering legal research as case management solutions when I go to legal tech shows, but there's now a lot. So now case management, but now I'm starting to see a lot of legal research. And they're all getting law firms to sign up for this, and I'm sitting there thinking, where does this stop? Where do you see the shakeout in this thing being? Everybody's got the legal research that they're delivering and selling to law firms.
Well, I don't know, because partly they're going after different markets, and they're developing different capabilities. I mean, the product of the year here this year is Kara, which is the platform that Casetext introduced this year that lets you just upload a brief, and it will analyze it and tell you, other cases that are relevant that should have been mentioned in the brief, and give you some other information about it. Judicata is actually working on something similar to that, where you can be able to upload a brief or a document, and it'll do a lot of analysis on it.
You reviewed Kara too, though, right?
Yeah, I reviewed Kara.
Now you gave it a pretty favorable review, didn't you, based on a trial lawyer looking at it?
I'm
going to go track them down and talk with them a little bit.
Like right over here. It's a very cool tool, so I don't know how it shakes out. I mean, we've got obviously there's the sort of the fast case maker group who are kind of going up against each other for a lot of the law firm, the bar affinity relationships, and sort of the different tiers. Both of those have been moving up into some of the bigger firms. Maybe fast case more than case makers are moving into larger firms. But then you've got like Ravel Law, Casetext, which have been kind of going after the higher end, the larger firm market, partly because that's where the money is, and they're startups, and they want to make some money.
Yeah, and I ran into one person last night. I can't remember Michael's last name. He's running the whole thing by himself. So what he's doing is not limited.
Docket Alarm.
Is it Docket Alarm? Yeah. And so I'm listening to this, and I'm trying to understand the difference. And what he was doing was, rather than written opinions, which were precedent, he's pulling everything that is being produced by the courts with the idea.
Docket stuff. He's pulling docket.
All the docket.
Opinions,
and which was at first, I didn't understand what he was talking about, but he's a one-man show, scraping. I forget how many 100 million docket.
Yeah,
or
there's not
docket.
alone in that. There's several companies. I mean, you can kind of look around. That's also a big area right now. Are these docket search companies? I've written about Pacer Pro is another one.
So Pacer Pro is similar to that, where you can have access to all this information.
Yeah, the docket information. The federal, it basically starts with access to the federal Pacer system.
Right.
But it's as I've said about Pacer Pro, it's like lipstick on a pig because it's a better. It's not. You're still accessing the Pacer data, but it's a better access to it. It's a more full-featured search. It gives you more capabilities for downloading information and storing and accessing information. So it just works a lot better than the Pacer system, which is 20 years old.
It was interesting for me as I was starting to think as a trial lawyer to get all of that knowledge, and it could be briefs, whatever, that people's out there. Last thing I'll ask you about is what do you think about Fast Case's ranch?
Well, given that I was there way too late last night, I think we got a 2 thumbs up for Fast Case's ranch. Fast Case always has a party suite here, and this year they actually got a separate building up on 6th Street, 6th Avenue.
Yeah, where all the bars are.
Where all the bars are, and it's quite a little place. It's got a pool in it. It's got a lot of food, and I'm sure is tonight the last night. I guess tonight's the last night.
They run it again. They look pretty tired when you have to be the bartenders, the bouncers, the cleaning help.
Are the CEOs of the company.
CEOs.
Yeah.
CEO, COO, what the president of the company, and everybody else. But it was pretty impressive because you're walking down 6th Street, and people haven't spent time in Austin. It's basically like Bourbon Street with horses, with police on horseback, and
these guys are manning the booth. They're giving seminars during the day. Running their reception thing at night till the wee hours of the morning. I don't know how they do it.
Yeah, and I asked them, I said, how did this all start? I assume at a card table that's this event. And I go, yeah, Ed and Phil are at a card table. Yeah. And then we just tried to get it a little bit better each year. And this year they rent out. You're walking down the street and you'd think it would be another bar, except a sign hanging about a bar above the door. It's got a Fast Case thing.
Yeah.
With them sitting out front. Well, thank you very much. We'll catch up again.
Thanks, Kevin. Always fun to talk to you.
Likewise. Yeah.